Howdy folks, welcome back to Rated as Random. Today we are doing another chat and draw. This drawing is going to be something a little bit special. It's an idea that I've had that I couldn't get off my mind, not to save my life, and instead of letting it fester in my brain only to be forgotten, I decided that since it's October, National Spooky Month and the Month of Madness, I figured it would be pretty topical for me to actually draw this and, you know, to record it so you guys can actually see it. So sit back, grab some cocoa, and just enjoy the tunes and watch the drawing. Watch this horrible monstrosity unfold. If you're not interested in the whole actual chatting section, then feel free to put it on mute and just listen to some beats off in another tab. If you do, well then buckle up, we have a conversation for you today. So last time I remember saying I'd only do these in case I have something really important to talk about. Well, like I said, I have a drawing idea that I've had, and I just now got around to actually drawing it and recording it. So today's chat is just going to be just talking about the drawing in general, talking about this video icon that I drew and giving it a bit of a new light, I guess, in the world that it's originally from. In case you didn't know, or maybe you just couldn't tell by the drawing that's being done in front of you, this is a creeper. It's a creeper from Minecraft, in case you didn't know. If you did, well then 20 points to Gryffindor, or whatever house you support. So first, when people think of creepers, there's usually a couple things that come to mind. 4 real things. A, big freaking explosions. B, existential dread. Or C, or D, adorable, cute monsters that pop when they get too excited. How sweet. But I bet you weren't thinking of a 5th thing. Pigs. That's right, pigs. This is relatively common knowledge to those who actually know a lot about Minecraft history. Creepers were actually made from a coding bug. When in the early stages of Minecraft, when it was being coded, Notch had made a coding error when making pigs and made them tall instead of long. And that's how our favorite little suicide giraffes were born. But in terms of the actual in-game definition of what a creeper is and the lore behind them, it's a little bit fuzzy, and we don't exactly know where they came from. On that topic, Minecraft lore is kind of fuzzy. I mean, there are entire channels dedicated to this subject, but I just want to talk about this drawing and what I think their origins are. So, by no means should any of my words or my ideas be taken as fact, but this is just my idea, so actually let's just begin. So, given the official announcement from Minecraft's creator himself, we know that creepers were derived from pigs, or at the very least, the intention of making pigs, right? The textures are off too. Their very original versions were a very hunched over sort of look. They were lighter in color, but then gradually changed into a very dark coloration, and were changed in a few later updates into a more bright coloration, the one that we're used to now. This coloration is actually very similar to Minecraft's more classical editions in the earlier versions of the dirt block. The grass textures are very, very similar to that of the modern day creeper. If you look up Minecraft, creeper art online or wherever you find your art, it's a pretty general consensus that they have a sort of grassy appearance, like covered in grass, but is it grass? Now, as for my theory and what actually created the creeper, I imagine, now stay with me on this, I think that it's fungal infection. Pigs will pretty much dip their snouts into whatever food they can get. From meats to fruits and vegetables, even to corpses. They are actually known cannibals, if you didn't know that. But the idea is a type of fungal, or at least this type of fungal infestation, will be able to grow naturally inside the pig's digestive tract, whether naturally through consumption or by some form of inhalation or injury. Now, to explain other mobs such as the cow or chicken, other land animals might contract this type of growth, but cows, for example, might be large enough to have it pass without any real harm. Chickens might be small enough to where this fungal infection, just sort of kills them off pretty quickly. There are actually real-life examples of zombie type of fungus. There is one that has a scientific name that I'm too afraid to pronounce, but it is known as the zombie ant fungus. This type of fungus infects certain ants, and as it sort of builds up in their bodies, it controls them in a way that makes them leave their canopy nests and then in their homes in search of an area where the temperature and humidity is right. They'll basically climb to a point, basically use their mandibles to attach themselves to the bottom side of a leaf. And they'll just sit there. They'll just sit there and die and let this fungus just kill them and attach to the leaf, where it'll continue to grow, spreading its spores and getting into other unfortunate ants to continue this cycle. In this case, it could be the same way. When these animals contract this sort of fungal infestation, their bodies begin to bloat a little bit. As this fungal infestation grows, it will slowly eat away certain parts of the pig's body or any other animal's body. It'll spread first to its nervous system along its spine, deadening certain cognitive functions in the pig's brain. Most importantly, like breathing and the ability to, the function to want to eat. This essentially deprives the pig of all of its natural instincts into a more direct, focused sort of animal, infected animal, and its only job at that point would just sort of be to eat, I guess, because it would need fuel, and while it does, the fungus would need more fuel, I guess, as it slowly eats away the inside of the pig itself, just like the other kind of fungus does with the ants. Now, rather than having the pig go off and hug a tree and then just sort of sitting there until it dies, the pigs mutate in a way. This fungus causes a mutation that's actually a little horrific. Now, disclaimer, things will get a little disturbing, I suppose, in my explanation, covering themes of animal mutilation and pain. If you still want to watch the drawing, put on some lo-fi in the other tab and hit mute. If not, you've been warned. So, as the infection festers in the digestive tract of the pig, it'll spread throughout the neural system, like we've said. As the pig itself begins to die, parts of its body will begin to decay naturally. And through the natural decaying process, it begins to bloat. Specifically, its stomach will. As you can see in the drawing, its large belly is just completely filled with natural gases that grow inside the body, unable to actually get it out. As well as just filling with spores. Have you ever seen a dandelion? Think of that, but inverted, where the inside of it is just completely full of these white, flowery, nasty-looking spores that just fill the insides of its stomach. The spores will build up inside the intestines as well as the stomach to give it a very fat-bellied appearance. In the following weeks of bloat, we've said that the neural system will have been deadened. The infection would have attached to the pig's ability to properly process. It won't actually, if done properly, cause the pig too much harm if it's deadened properly. if not done correctly, as I imagine in natural cases, not everything is perfect, then the mutation process will be, well, it's not a pretty sight for anyone. And in some cases, in most cases, creepers die naturally in the middle of mutation process. First, the spine begins to elongate, sort of pulling away from the body of the pig, its skeletal anatomy being forcefully shifted and growing in strange ways. It creates an upright form with 4 small legs keeping its long neck balanced. It's an infected belly protruding outwards in the middle between its 2 front legs. It keeps its small little twirly tail, although that's sort of more dissolved into the actual body itself, or probably just fell off. The fungus keeps its host alive while it slowly digests a lot of the organs that they had gradually shut off, making fuel for the spores while using the fat and muscle as fuel first. As that begins to diminish, a lot of the skin will begin to sag, like you can see the corners of its mouth sort of forming that ghastly, very familiar frown that creepers have. Using the sagging skin of its eyes, the bags of its eyes, will create an elongated, hollow look. Its sockets so sunken in that you can't actually see the eyes of the pig. With the extension of the spine and upper body into an upright position, the throat muscles will constrict itself to form an even tighter, more narrow tube that it would use only for breathing. Pretty soon it won't be able to actually eat. Like the fungal infestation will slowly starve and speed up the death of the pig itself. What was once a pig-like squeal becomes a pained, familiar hiss. The nature of the fungal spores mixed with the biology of the pig and the built-up gases of rotting flesh and the digestive fluid makes for perfect explosive conditions. The creeper hisses when it comes in contact with what it deems a hostile entity. A sudden intake of air leads to the belly, making for a sudden, albeit subtle explosion. A certain surprise for many players. For many players, myself included. So that's how a creeper works, per se. The natural process of its mutation is derived from this infestation getting into the actual biology of the pig and changing it up entirely, rearranges it into an upright position like a flower would, growing from that seed and just sort of sprouting upwards. You can actually see in pictures of like the zombie ant fungus that it sort of grows like a horn out of parts of the ant's body into this just horrific looking structure. Well, creepers are a different sort. Even though they're dead pigs, they still survive. Since they're mostly vegetable by this point, I have to imagine that they survive through photosynthesis, though being a primarily meat being, that creepers just don't have that long of a lifespan, even if they don't explode. Now, that explains the nature of a creeper, but we have to explain exactly what we pick up. Gunpowder is a lootable item dropped from creepers. In the flavor of this fungal growth, the so-called gunpowder could be seen as creeper flesh. A chunk of decayed or calcified pig organ might have a hardened gray appearance, still having bits of fat and spore grown in around it. This calcified, hardened organ or chunk of meat could be ground into a type of volatile sludge that would have the same properties as gunpowder. Once lit, the rapid burning and expulsion of hot gas would make it pop into a fiery burst, using the oils from the fat and spores as fuel. Like I was saying before, creepers don't usually last very long. The fungi devouring the pig takes a little over a month to completely kill it. And even then, it'd take just a couple weeks for the creeper just to move on its own, let whatever cognitive function is left in whatever brain is left of the pig to let the creeper move around and do its thing. They don't, usually last that long. Even in Minecraft, they just sort of have a very quick despawn rate. They occur naturally enough, although pigs are much more of a common occurrence than most things. I think it's safe to say that most pigs have a fairly high chance of avoiding this type of infection, as creepers are usually found outside the proximity of most overworld animals. How this spreads? My theory is, I imagine that as the pig dies, it explodes, or what have you. If it explodes, I imagine spores will just sort of float everywhere, like the dandelion would, floating to different parts of the grass and just sort of infecting the ground to these really green patches of moss or of ground or grass or something like that. Pigs, like I said, are cannibals. They'll eat pretty much anything they can get their hands on, or their hooves in this case. If they eat a piece of infected meats or eat a piece of infected grass, not just them, if it happened to kill a cow or a chicken, their bodies will be found just sort of lying there. So I imagine there's lots of ways they could get infected and turn into creepers. It happens very fast. There'll always be that one unlucky piglet who strayed a little too far and ate grass that was a little too green. Now, I know the science is off. I don't need science nerds saying, well, actually, to me in the streets. So we'll agree that it's a complete, it's an idea of complete fiction. After all, is there anything from Minecraft real? I mean, other than the obvious inspiration from real life? There is one question that remains, however. What happens if we breathe in this infection? Steve or Alex, the characters that we play in the game, what happens if we happen to get infected? Well, I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest. I imagine it would have some similarities to a cow. The infection will be able to pass right through us. We'll be able to fight it off, or we'll drink some stuff and just sort of poop it out or something like that. But who knows? Maybe we'll just get unlucky and maybe it'll just spread too fast. Maybe we'll inhale too much spores. Maybe we'll live another day. Maybe we won't. After all those zombies had to come from somewhere. Now, this fungal growth isn't all that bad. This does have other roots in the actual game itself. We have mushroom islands that could be part of this strange zombie fungal growth thing. We have giant mushrooms that, if left unintended in the right conditions, just grow to massive proportions. We also have the mushroom cow, which could be a side effect of this weird mutation. I don't know. Does anyone know? I have no idea, but I think this is a crazy cool idea. If anything, it's more of a theory. Array theory! Okay. Well, hey. I think that's just about it. That's all I had to say about this drawing. I think it's a neat concept. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. I had lots of fun doing this drawing, as clumsy as it looks. I really enjoy it. I did draw a little inspiration from the monster from Amnesia: The Dark Descent, since I thought the gaping mouth and sagging skin was just way creepy. I think it'd be awesome if someone, or maybe I'll do a drawing later, but just try to make it look as real and horrific as possible. At the end of the video, there's going to be some concept art using different angles, plus the original, so there's a side-by-side. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one, folks.